Hey, what's up, everybody? Um, this is kind of a test to see if my streaming is working to one page. But while I'm at it, I figure we might as well address a pretty serious issue. You know, um, it's definitely got me saying what the fuck, scratching my head. Um, I want to know why the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Mississippi, um, DOJ. Uh-oh. Signal seems to be cutting. Oh. I do want to know why, how somebody can impersonate an FBI agent, definite impersonator, how it can be reported, and how that report can go ignored, how there can be that much animosity in a department to actually allow somebody to impersonate, to basically get away with it just because you don't want to do your job in investigating the real problem. The looking within. So much damn corruption. It started out with just a small thing, seemingly small thing on the state level, and had just, a couple of state people take the backs of these criminals on the state side, and then they did something else to cover that up. And before long, after so many different acts and so many more people basically helping, taking the backs of somebody else they know, what I feel like honestly is going on here is this is gotten to a point where there's some people on the state side that have some buddies in the federal level, some FBI friends. Maybe these people on the state level went to the FBI training academy. In fact, there's a couple of them that I can tell you right now that have 100% involved themselves in this freaking witch hunt. So, and I did put this out, or the majority of this call out the other day on a live stream. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. Or actually, this is going to be the formal release of this call recording for accountability's purposes. Okay? There needs to be a constant reminder that we, the people, expect a certain level of transparency and accountability with our government. So regardless on whether they do the right thing or not, okay, I'm going to go ahead and basically show the culpability, okay? I just, all this stuff, it basically takes plausible deniability and throws it the hell off the table. Can't be used. Cannot be used. So, a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Mississippi by the name of Aaron Chalk. And Aaron, it would appear from doing the research online, is like over their criminal division or whatever. All I wanted was to basically show the obvious, offer to turn over whatever, and listen to the care, okay, that is shown. I mean, I don't think that there could be any more proof of what I've said in regards to this dereliction of duty. I said for a reason. I had a good reason not to trust that the FBI was going to actually do a legitimate job in looking into the thing on the on the governor's mansion. But it's just listen to this call. Listen to this call. Outside of the governor's mansion, I was peacefully protesting on the sidewalk. Um, I'm a journalist. I believe wholeheartedly in the First Amendment. It must be preserved at all costs. I was exercising my rights, and a state trooper that was there at the shack got completely triggered and told me to take my sign and go across the street. I told him I was on the public sidewalk and I was perfectly fine, and he charged at me, threatening me, and I'd say came within about an arm's length of me, pushing me out into the road, which was excessive right there. But where it went from bad to worse was where the I demanded a supervisor because I wanted to make an on-site complaint. And a supervisor by the name, his last name was White, came over there, and I was explaining everything that had happened. Uh, the supervisor was more, you know, I guess it wasn't worried about his actions. Was trying to figure out a way to basically kind of make it all, my fault. But I wasn't. But once again, I mean, everything is video recorded. Um, the the state trooper that had charged at me, I guess he had put on his trooper hat and put on his gun belt, came back to the gate and um and told me, once again, yelled something. I can't remember what he yelled, and I said, "You're gonna get away from me." And he charged at me in the presence of his supervisor and two other troopers, and actually assaulted me this time. Swung, hit me. I blocked it with my arm. I had a gimbal with a camera. It knocked the camera off of the gimbal to the ground, and he stepped on it. The supervisor came running up and said and told him to de-escalate, and the other troopers were telling him the same thing, to de-escalate, and I started, demanding that charges be filed on him because I mean, a trooper can't just assault. They're supposed to have a level of um what's the word I'm looking for? They're supposed to have a certain level of I can't even my brain's not working today. But yeah, so I was demanding because it was open, it was on camera. This wasn't something that, I've been assaulted before where law enforcement said, we can't do anything because we didn't actually witness it. It didn't happen in our presence. But that couldn't be said here. This actually happened in the presence of his supervisor and two other uniformed officers. And just me saying alone that I wanted charges filed on him for that. Um, Triggered him again, and he busted through all of them like a linebacker in a football game, trying to get to me a third time. Just because I was simply saying that I wanted charges filed on the guy. I kept demanding for him to be identified. I wanted name and badge number, and they refused um to give me any identification, which I think personally falls under obstruction of justice because here I'm wanting charges filed on him, and they're concealing his identity. He not only did he not identify, but his supervisor and um uh his fellow troopers concealed his identity. And I feel like, not only does that fall under, I could take this the state route, but I believe wholeheartedly that this is something that needs to be looked into by the feds. I think that this is something that falls 100% under 18 U.S. Code 242, and even quite likely 18 U.S. Code 241. I don't think the state it will take this seriously, and I think that's evident by the governor's position on everything. The governor has refused to address anything. It happened outside of his mansion. It's been a very public ordeal. The video has been picked up by some large channels. It's the Mississippi Highway Patrol secretary that I spoke with on the phone had even seen the video, and she even said herself she couldn't believe what she saw. He was 100% in the wrong. And I've called for the governor to denounce it. I've called publicly for the governor to denounce it because I think that it sends a visible message to not only the citizens of the state of Mississippi but to the nation. Because this video has not only it's gone around the country, and there have been people in other countries that have jumped on and commented seeing it. I think that it sends a clear message that the state of Mississippi condones this type of behavior, happening to citizens that are peacefully protesting, and not only citizens that are peacefully protesting, but journalists. And I can't I can't count on the state doing the right thing in this situation because the governor is intentionally choosing to stay silent on it. And to me, silence is complicity. And it's honestly, it's just as criminal in this situation.
Okay. My office, we do not investigate. We prosecute cases that are brought to us. So I forwarded your voicemail that you left with our office to the FBI, and I'll follow up and make sure that they received it. Then they go from there as far as for an investigation. I just wanted to share that with you. That my office, we don't investigate, so I'm not in a position where I can comment one way or another.
Okay. I mean, I would be happy to provide. I understand that they do the investigating, and I'll say this, that I've I've had I've had numerous issues with um with getting fair treatment from the FBI. Um, and it's been in several jurisdictions, not just in the Northern District of Mississippi, not just in, out in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's been, I've, I don't know why. I feel like the evidence couldn't be clearer, and it's like there's just um, they hear my name, and it's just, they immediately will not give anything a fair look. I don't have any kind of record as far as the feds go. I've never committed any federal crimes. I have asked that the FBI, uh, do a fair investigation into what the state of Mississippi has done over the last 8 years. And there's been a lot of, I'll tell you exactly what I feel like it happened here. I've got a book that's about to publish. It's called American Injustice, that details out 8 years of absolutely heinous public corruption that I've witnessed and has happened to me, and it's backed by evidence. It's not just things that I'm saying. I'm alleging. It's stuff that's actually backed by evidence. And what I feel like has happened here is, and this should not be the case. This should never be the case. But what happened was, it happened, like all of my story, everything that happened started with a few people on the state back in 2017. And what happened was, it was a few other people that took the backing of those people with the state to basically um, cover up and protect. And then there was one instance after another of that got exposed, and then there was something else done to cover that up. And then that got exposed, and then something was done to cover that up. And each and every time that happened, it involved more and more people to successfully cover it up. So what started with a few people on the state side has spiraled out of control to where there's been so much involvement, so many different people with the state, and even it's gotten to what I can just about 100% make the claim that there were uh, it got to a level where there were people on the Fed side that basically it started with just a couple, just not many that basically covered and took the backing of certain people that had involvement in the state, and then before long, you have more people on the federal side that are obviously now they're backing up and taking the back of the people that should have never just automatically, backed up and covered up people with the state. And it's gotten to I've coined it trickle down corruption. Okay, and it's where, it's something that's ballooned to where there is and I'll tell you this case in point. I've made 3 Office of the Inspector General complaints. And these are there was I got sentenced to a year in prison for going to the FBI office in Oxford, Mississippi to report law enforcement corruption. That should never happen. What happened was Lafayette County, Mississippi actually had me banished from the county. This is all part of the numerous things that have happened. I was completely denied due process, and I had a family crisis that involving my children that I ended up pleading out to something that I did not do, but I pled out solely to get out and to provide for my family. But part of that whole pleading out to it, I had to agree to be banished from Lafayette County. Well, I had evidence of law enforcement corruption involving Holly Springs, Mississippi Police Department, as well as Lafayette County Sheriff's Department, and I called the FBI in Oxford and I said, "Hey, I've got evidence of this, corruption. I want to speak to somebody. I want to bring my evidence up there." And the agent told me, "We don't do appointments, we do walk-ins." And I said, "Well, it's a little bit different for me because I'm actually banished from Lafayette County, and this is one of the things that I want to talk to y'all about." And we had agreed verbally on the phone to me coming up there about an hour and a half later. So before I went up there, I called the sheriff's department and I spoke to a sheriff's deputy named Candace Beavers. And I recorded the phone call and I told her verbatim everything that I had discussed. Well, I didn't tell her what it was about, but I said that I needed to go to the FBI office and that in the next hour and a half. I go up there. Nobody at the FBI came out and met with me. I sat in the lobby for, about 2 hours waiting for somebody to come out. Well, days later, I'm abruptly taken into custody by Lafayette County. They violated my probation, and actually gave me a year in prison for violating the banishment clause by going to the FBI office. This is all in court transcripts, okay? So I didn't have the call recordings with me to actually show this in court. So I served a year in prison for going to the FBI to report law enforcement corruption. I get out of prison August 1st, 2023, and I exposed the sheriff's deputy for what she did. I put the court transcript out as well as the call recordings that are lined up, and it shows verbatim that she intentionally lied to send me to prison. That got a lot of traction on YouTube, and they devised a scheme to attack me and to silence me. And what happened was 9 days after I got out of prison, August 1st, I left to go to Galveston, Texas, to go and report on law enforcement corruption down there because I had gotten tips as a journalist that they were making false arrests. They were racially profiling people. As I was going into the city limits of Galveston, Texas, 11 hours away, I'm pulled over by Galveston police and I'm arrested on a false charge of DWI. I hadn't drank in 4 or 5 years, since the end of 2018. I kept telling the officer that. He claimed that he smelled the odor of alcohol. refused to give me a breathalyzer test, took me to the hospital, and they tortured me at the hospital with a needle, with like 6 officers holding me face down on a hospital bed. I sat, as I was getting booked in, I heard the voice of that sheriff's deputy on the phone with the arresting officer. Okay. I sat in the jail in Galveston, Texas for 11 months. 2 weeks prior to going to trial, I was extradited to Mississippi. I was robbed of a trial in Galveston, Texas. I was extradited to Mississippi. They held a revocation hearing for me and actually sent me to prison, gave me a 2-year prison sentence based on the officer's lies. That prison sentence was vacated January 21st of this year. It was declared illegal, and I was released January 22nd. The charge in Galveston, completely dismissed. The proof came out. I was innocent, and it was a conspiracy. We actually have recorded phone calls from Lafayette County, Mississippi, actually on the phone with Galveston, Texas, the arresting officer, to arrest me. This was part of the conspiracy to silence me and put me into prison. They literally have robbed me of my life. I've lost literally everything. They sold my car at public auction. They have completely just stripped me of everything. And I have been crying out for help to the federal authorities. This evidence couldn't be any clearer. And why the feds haven't come down on these people yet is beyond me. I'll tell you another thing. Why the FBI has stayed silent, even though I've published the recorded phone calls showing where I spoke with the FBI, and basically I went to prison for that. Why they haven't come forward and said, well, that guy was actually right. He was, we did talk to him. What happened in him getting sent to prison, was wrong. Somebody should have come forward and spoken up on that. And instead, the FBI has chosen to remain silent. So yeah, I understand that you say that the FBI has got to investigate it, but why haven't they looked into anything else? Why have they been able to remain silent and be complicit in everything that's happened? This has been an all-out just attack, everything but an assassination on a journalist. And honestly, I feel like that's the next thing to come, because they've done every single thing that they could possibly do to me to silence me. It's I've been 5150'd as part of a cover up. I was sent to a state hospital. They tried to say that I was crazy whenever I made the claim that I found records altered, court records altered, but I published the proof of that, and it's on my website. And they came in and they tried to say that I was paranoid and delusional, and that I would go out in public recording. But I'm a journalist, and that's a key function of my job. Uh, I've never, I've never had any kind of diagnoses, been on any kind of medication, but yet they have put me in a state hospital trying to say that I was not taking medication, not seeking medical help, going out in public places recording, paranoid and delusional, but none of that stuff applied. And, I just, these people have completely, it's very dangerous.
I'm hearing what you're saying. I cannot comment on why or what the FBI did or did not do, because I have no knowledge.
But see, y'all are the prosecuting. They're the investigatory arm. Y'all are the prosecuting arm. And all I'm asking, okay, because different from the state, I can basically file a criminal affidavit with the state, and they have to, push that forward. On the Fed side, it has to be initiated by the federal authorities. And all I'm saying is, I would like to, um, I would like to send the proof that I have, the videos that I have, and I have every reason to not be trusting of the FBI because of everything else that has happened. The fact that they've stayed silent. I instead of relying solely on the FBI to do their job there and properly investigating that and looking at the videos, I would like to be able to send the videos to y'all, because y'all have the ability to pull the trigger on prosecuting something. It doesn't solely have to come from the FBI. It has to just be a federal authority, that, one of the arms. And it's really, ultimately, it comes down to the U.S. Attorney's Office on making the decision to prosecute. But something as plain, easy to see as this, I would like, I'm not fully trusting in the FBI doing their job and investigating this because of everything else that's happened. So can I send the videos to someone in your office?
Whenever you like to my office, I'm going to send it to the FBI.
Okay. And
you're happy to send it to my office.
All right. Can I get an email?
Sure. Erin, ERIN .Chalk, CHALK @USDOJ.gov.
CHALK?
That's correct.
At US what?
DOJ.gov.
Okay. Yeah, and my website is WTPnews.org. And that's got honestly, the stuff that I discussed with you on the phone is all there on the homepage of that website. Okay.
Yeah.
I just hope that something's done about this time, because I mean, this enough is.
All I can tell you is receive it. The FBI to take a look at it.
Well, I mean, you
handle everything.
But I know you say you can't promise anything, but I mean, if it's just blatantly clear, and if like
one way or another.
Right, but what if I were to do the same thing to them? Because if I were to do the same thing, I would be prosecuted. And it's not fair for it to be allowed to happen to me and for me not to be allowed to do it to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the message that.
They're another prosecuting agency if you're not interested in going to the district attorney.
Well, I've sent it all to the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's office, that's why I need it to go to the feds, and I need the feds to actually take a serious look at this, is because this has been full-on weaponization by the state of Mississippi at its highest levels. The Attorney General's office has been very well aware of everything that has gone on, Aaron. And they, for them to do something is basically for them to admit that they've been in the wrong before. I think that the same issue is going on here with the feds. I think for them to basically do anything and get involved kind of shows complicity before. But I'm not, I want y'all to know I'm not trying to, clamp down and basically, I want this to stop. Okay. That is the number one thing. I want this to stop. And I feel like people feel like if they do get involved at this point, that it makes them automatically, in the eyes of the public, guilty for not doing anything before. Okay. And that's the problem, is this is getting out of hand. It cannot, this cannot be allowed and condoned. It cannot be allowed to go on any further. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, ma'am. So you can see where I'm getting at with all of that. Something that, you know, I've taken plausible deniability off the table. You can't say you didn't know about it. You can't. I don't know why this is still staying up here. but actually that's a good one to leave up there. Yeah, so then fast forward the tape to just, a few days, well, it was, I think it was the end of last week, if I remember correctly. It was like Thursday or something like that. I get a call from, let's see, probably even have it on this history on the platform. Let's see. I don't think I do actually. Let's see, cancel. I don't know if I have it or not. Actually, on this phone steadily dumps videos off of it because the memory stays full. I can't record new stuff without, basically putting the other stuff on the cloud or. All right, but long story short, I get a call from a FBI imposter. Clear to hear that he's an impersonator. I've got to find that thing. Let's see, video. I think this is it right here. Yeah. Yep. There we are. So yeah, I had to end the last stream and start another one after I got this file moved over to my phone. This is definitely where I draw the line. This is definitely where the Department of Justice needs to draw the line. This is definitely where the FBI needs to draw the line. For far too long, they have been complicit and have refused to properly investigate crimes of corruption. Well, now, this particular ordeal actually involves them as far as their name, okay? You cannot let an imposter call representing themselves as the FBI and them not be the FBI. This guy was not the FBI. So I want to go ahead and I'll say publicly, okay, that my gut reaction on all this was that this was a goal for whoever this was to capture enough of my voice, which I mean is available online anyways, but being able to ask me certain questions. I believe that whoever this is, if it's a group of people or if it's one, I believe that they're going to try to voice clone me. They're going to try to, because they've got all this technology that's steadily just upgrading. And there are a lot of places where you can upload a certain amount, a certain length of your voice for it to voice clone. Because I can't think of really any other motive other than if they had a way of tracking me through the phone, which I doubt seriously that would be the case. It's racking my mind on what this could possibly be. Why would they do it? So I'm gonna let you hear it. You be the judge yourself. Hello?
Is it Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey man, my name is Adam Smith. I'm an agent with the FBI.
Hey, what's up?
Contacted the local U.S.
Do what?
Okay. Well, well, let me get your information here real quick.
Okay. And can I get
on the voicemail?
And can I just for my record, just because obviously I don't know if I'm actually talking to an FBI agent or not. You said your name and badge number, or your shield number?
Yeah, I don't. We don't really have that. I don't really have a badge number.
Okay, all right. I mean, I wanted to make sure, because I've had people call and act like, they were this or that, and I just wanted to ensure that I was actually talking to an FBI agent.
I understand. Well, so, I mean, I don't know if anyone would just randomly have the knowledge that you called and left a voicemail at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
okay.
I believe it was.
They reached out to me or to my supervisor and asked me to give you a call.
Okay. Yeah, it's this is a nightmare. It's a complete nightmare. July 3rd, the day before Independence Day, I'm a journalist, and I was.
Hold on, one second. I'm sorry. Now, could I get your name? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Matthew Reardon.
Hold on, real quick, Matthew. And what's that last name?
Reardon. I thought you knew my name.
So I knew Matt. I had a rough time hearing the last part, the Reardon part,
Gotcha.
On the voicemail. I'm sorry, and I got your phone number here, 769-227. I'm sorry, that's not your phone number. It's my phone number. 662-701. 662-701. What's the last four of your cell phone number?
2458.
2458.
And you said,
are you from Mississippi?
Yeah, I've lived most of my life over there. You said your name was Adam? What?
Yes, Adam Smith.
Adam Smith. All right. Are you an agent or are you a special agent?
Well, there is no. We're all special agents. There are no agents.
That's news to me. I've spoken to agents, and then I've spoken to special agents that were the supervisor.
Yeah, so some people will say we'll shorten that to agent this or agent that, but technically we're special agents in that I am an agent of either the Attorney General or the FBI Director. I only have special powers under his agency, so I am not his agent. I am a special agent with special authority.
I got you.
That make sense?
Yes, sir. This investigation into to Mississippi. The evidence is substantial. I published to a news site. I've been.
What agency?
Do what?
What agency were you talking about?
As far as news?
No, I meant patterns and practices. What law enforcement agency?
So I'm talking about the. Well, I'm asking for a pattern and practice investigation into the governor's office, into the Mississippi State Troopers, which would be under the Department of Public Safety. Definitely 100% the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department, as well as the Oxford Police Department.
Okay.
And it's well more than a pattern and practice that's developed. The latest thing that happened that had me calling down there, I talked to Aaron Chalk a couple of weeks ago, was I was peacefully protesting. I was exercising my right under the First Amendment to peacefully protest outside of the governor's mansion on the public sidewalk on Thursday, July 3rd of this year, just a few weeks ago. The governor actually signed a fraudulent document causing me to be, it turned out to be the whole thing was a multi-state conspiracy between North Mississippi and Galveston, Texas, to have me framed for a DWI charge in order to silence me. It was 2 Lafayette County sheriff's deputies that are actually on recorded call reaching out to this Galveston, Texas police officer. What happened was, I'd like to just start a little bit before that if I can, and that's the problem with there's so many different things that have happened. That's why I had to write a book. Is it's so convoluted. I want to, if I start at one place, then I feel the need to actually talk about how we got to that place, and then what that is has a beginning and has it's crazy. But yeah. So on October 28th, 2022, I reached out to the FBI field branch over there in Oxford, Mississippi, to report law enforcement corruption with the Holly Springs Police Department as well as the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department. Lafayette County had me banished from Lafayette County. They actually hit me with a sham charge before that. I was denied due process pretty much all the way around, and due to a family crisis going on in my life, with my wife getting fired from her job and having a baby fighting for his life in the hospital, I pled out. And I never wanted to plea out, but I felt like I had to plea out for the sake of my family. I pled out, and they banished me from Lafayette County, as well as put me on unsupervised probation. Well, I wanted to talk to the FBI about what Lafayette County had done, as well as what I had, some very sketchy stuff that I had come to knowledge of over in Holly Springs. So I reached out to an FBI agent over in Oxford, and I, just for my safety, and I'm so glad I did. I recorded the call just so I could show that, hey, I called there and had arranged to come up there to Oxford. I then reached out to the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department and spoke to a Candace Beavers. Huh?
Who did you speak out with at the FBI? Do you remember?
He never did give his name. I've got the call, but he never gave his name, and it was the guy that was just answering the main phone calls over there. And I told him, he said that we don't do appointments. I was trying to get an appointment to come by there, and he said, we don't do appointments, we do walk-ins only. And I said, well, this is a little bit different of a situation because I'm banished from Lafayette County. And I said, how about I just bring this evidence that I have up there here in the next, hour and a half. He said, okay. So then I called the Sheriff's Department and I spoke to Candace Beavers. And I told Candace exactly what I had just got done talking to the agent, except I didn't tell her what it was about as far as like what I was going to be talking to the agents about. But I told her I had to go up there, and I conveyed everything perfectly to her. Well, 3 days later, it was November the 1st. I guess that would have been almost 4 days later. I was abruptly pulled over, coming back from a city council meeting where I was speaking out. I was pulled over, and this sheriff's deputy said that they had filed a writ to revoke my probation and that I had to come with him. Come to find out, so went to the revocation hearing. They kept me in jail. It was a relatively short amount of time. It was like 2 days, and then they held a revocation hearing. And I did not have that phone that had the recorded calls. And I tried explaining this to the judge. And they held basically a kangaroo hearing and revoked my probation based on Candace Beavers intentionally lying on stand, saying that I had no lawful reason to come to the FBI office in Oxford. She said that I did not have permission, that after I got off the phone, that the sheriff called over there and that they told him that I didn't have permission. But I've got the recorded calls both to them as well as the sheriff's department, and they sentenced me to a year in prison based on her lies. And I'm very untrusting of the FBI. I'd like to see some good faith here, because in all this time, where's the FBI been to actually come forward and say, yeah, we talked to that guy. What happened to him was screwed up. She lied on stand in court, and he went to prison for a year when he was trying to report law enforcement corruption. That's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous thing, man. I mean, nobody should ever get persecuted for reporting a crime to the authorities. And I did there. And then I feel like, honestly, you know, the FBI let me drown. You know, they knew that I was innocent, and they knew that I had called up there, and yet this was allowed to happen. And so I get out of prison August 1st of 2023. And when I'm out, I did what anybody would do in that same situation. I got the court transcript. I got the recorded phone calls. I put together a video where it was lined up perfectly, where her answers in court were lined up with the call. And you can tell that she intentionally perjured herself, intentionally lied on stand. It was all part of a conspiracy to have me put in prison, because I was a sore thumb to them, because I had been investigating Lafayette County for corruption for 7-8 years. I've got a huge file on them. They've literally put me in a state hospital twice within 2 months' time to try to get rid of me as part of a cover-up. I was digging into the Lafayette County Law Enforcement Officers Association, 501c3, that was co-founded by the sheriff and his number 2 guy, as well as the old mayor of Oxford. And from what I can tell, things look very, very shady right there with that nonprofit. I mean, I plan on you know, doing another request for the financial records there, but there's something, you know, shady going on right there. But they changed records in circuit court twice within a year and a half's time. I have it captured. It's on video. It's on my website. And then they tried to gaslight me and say that I was paranoid and delusional, and that I would go out in public recording. And they had me committed to a state hospital like I was crazy when I had no diagnoses, nothing. These people have just attacked over and over and over again. I'm sick and tired of it. So this gets to where we're at right now. So 9 days after I got out of prison, August 1st, 2023, on August 10th, I got tips of law enforcement corruption going on with the Galveston, Texas Police Department. That they were, in particular, they were making false arrests. There was some racial profiling going on. And so I drove to Galveston. I was going to go meet up with a couple of journalists down there and go and film police stops down in Galveston. As I'm going into the Galveston city limits, 11 hours later, I get pulled over, and the officer, Osteen, comes to my door, and the first question that he asked me is, "So are you an auditor, man?" And I told him I wasn't going to answer questions. And he told me that, he said, "How much have you had to drink tonight?" I was like, "I haven't drank in 4 to 5 years. What are you talking about?" He kept claiming that he smelled alcohol. He wanted me to do a field sobriety test. I told him I wasn't going to take his field sobriety test because I don't trust a subjective test. I want something objective. Give me a breathalyzer. They wouldn't give me a breathalyzer. They took me to the hospital and they tortured me at the hospital. I've got the body cam videos. They had 6 or 7 cops. They had my hands handcuffed behind my back, and they had me held face down on a hospital bed while the nurse stuck me multiple times with a needle. And I've got a phobia of needles. You know, they drew blood. They took me to the hospital. They took me to the jail. They booked me in the jail on suspicion of felony DWI. Even if I was drunk driving down the roads in Galveston, they couldn't charge me with a felony. They just couldn't. And they knew that. But they used more of Lafayette County's lies to perpetuate this scheme. As I was in booking, I heard the arresting officer, William Osteen, on the cell phone with Candace Beavers. I heard her voice. Her voice is unmistakable. So when I heard it that night, and I told my attorney, I was like, look, I know that he had this communication with her. Sure enough, he's got the recorded calls. And, I mean, it's clear as day. The 2 sheriff's deputies from Lafayette County that call William Osteen at 2 o'clock in the morning on August 11th are Hobie James, Hoby, and Candace Beavers. Both of those 2 are featured in that expose that I put out about Candace lying on stand in court. He is the one, Hobie James is the one that pulls me over November 1st. So, of course, I've got a video of that, and that's on the beginning of that video.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, you went out there for a second. Sorry about that.
I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
So it's just, I mean, it's clear cut. The conspiracy doesn't get any clearer than this. If you can't look at this and all that's happened and see conspiracy, Galveston dismissed the charge. There was no alcohol in my system. But you know what? It didn't stop me. It was quid pro quo between Lafayette County and Galveston. Because they were both helping each other. Lafayette County called in a favor. And so they had to keep swapping favors back and forth. And so what they did was, they knew they weren't going to ever be able to convict me on it because they knew that I had no alcohol in my system. So what they did, somebody's calling, send that voicemail. So what they did is Galveston held me in jail for 11 months. And 2 weeks prior to going to trial, they extradited me to Mississippi. They used the no bond hold, the extradition hold from Mississippi, that the governor rubber stamped a sham governor's warrant to make this all happen. And 2 weeks prior to me, clearing my name, I get shuttled, or as I like to think of it, I got trafficked to Lafayette County, Mississippi, held in jail over there until past the maximum amount of time before they could even hold a revocation hearing. But it didn't matter to them because it was pre-orchestrated anyways. And they used Osteen. They had the Galveston police officer testify over Zoom. And I've got the transcript of that. He told so many lies. They were bold-faced lies. He actually said that I had alcohol in my system. in court. And the toxicology report says no alcohol. They sentenced me to 2 years in prison without a conviction, with me just spending 11 months in jail on something that they had conspired, and that's right after serving a 1-year sentence for Candace Beavers lying, saying that I had no permission to go to the FBI office. And so I get sent off to prison, and I spent about 6 months in prison. And then the MacArthur Justice Center got me out. They, through the documents they filed, it was declared an unlawful and illegal sentence, and it was vacated. And I was released from prison. And now there's a, of course, I had to, I've screamed to the authorities for help with this. It couldn't be clearer. This is some of the worst, types of public corruption, abuse of power. And that knock at the door has just gone unanswered the entire time. There's so many things that happened going back to 2017, and they're all linked. This all falls under RICO. There needs to be a RICO investigation into this, because it's all RICO. It's all RICO. They're all predicate acts that are connected. So then I stand outside of the governor's mansion. I held a sign that said, "Fuck the governor." It's my First Amendment right. I can say that. All right. Obviously, I had reasons for being upset. I was sent to prison because of law enforcement run amok in Mississippi. And the governor put his signature and the state seal on a governor's warrant that said that he authenticates under Mississippi, or under Mississippi law, that that the documents, the annexed papers, were authenticated under Mississippi law, but they weren't. They couldn't have been more fake than. I mean, it's the petition to revoke my probation said that I was on probation for possession of a controlled substance. I've never been charged with possession of a controlled substance. It said that I was in jail under a driving under the influence third offense. First of all, that's not even what it is in the penal code over in Texas. It's driving while intoxicated, third or more. But where it really went astray is they completely fabricated a case number. What the case number and the crime and what I was allegedly on probation for were not true. And then from that petition, a bench warrant was drawn and signed off on instantly. And the bench warrant had the false information as well. And then that went to the governor's office, and the governor, without checking into anything, signed off on that. Authenticated fake documents. And that was used to extradite me over, even though I never waived extradition. I was wanting to contest it because I knew everything was sham. But how is that any, to be honest with you, how's that any different than a human trafficking victim? Somebody that was kidnapped and then trafficked. Are you there?
Yes, I wouldn't see that as human trafficking.
No, I'm just.
If I could back up a little bit.
But you see the crimes that.
Back up a little bit. You said I could back up a little bit. I think you said you had a sign that said "fuck the governor." What was it you had against the governor?
They stood down the entire time I reported this heinous public corruption. Can we both agree that, you know, that absolutely is a serious crime for a sheriff's deputy to lie on stand in court, to send somebody to prison, and then to retaliate on them for exposing them, and to call in a favor to have that person falsely arrested? Can we both agree that that's a crime?
I mean, if someone says something false on a stand, that's a crime.
It's a little bit more than just perjury, though. And I would hope that you would understand that.
So you were mentioning human trafficking, and then what happened?
No, I was not mentioning. Okay, all right. Look, here's the thing. This is turned into a pretty weird phone call. I can't even get you to admit that this stuff is wrong. So I'm going to be terminating this call at this time. If you can call back from a number that can be actually identified as being from the FBI, I'll be happy to talk to you. But right now, I have every reason to believe that that your motives are not good on this. So I'm going to be terminating this call now.
Have a nice day.
Alright, so you can't make this stuff up. I'm sick and tired of it. Look, this message is to the FBI, the real FBI, and the DOJ, the real DOJ, okay? You got to do an investigation now. Hands down. You got to do one. You got to. You can't just stand by and not do it and let somebody invoke your name to try to conspire and set. I mean, clearly, they're up to something. I can tell you that right now. They are up to something. They got that call for some reason. There was nothing I said on that call that I haven't already said in all of my videos. There were 100% nefarious reasons behind that call. And so help me God. If somebody clones my voice and puts something out there and they clamp down on me because I've even called this up front, that I feel like 100% that's what that was. You have a duty to investigate. This is just madness. It's one thing after another. I believe somebody that's connected to Governor Tate Reeves or Lafayette County, somebody connected to the Lafayette County Sheriff, something. This is where that person stemmed from. They used a 769 area code, which is Mississippi. It's like one of the newer codes. I don't know what area over there that's from. But it's definitely not a number that an FBI agent is going to use. I feel like this person, they clearly didn't do their homework. They clearly didn't do their research, okay? If they were really trying to pass off what they were doing. I think they just got a text-free number or some type of online number, free number, and they registered a Mississippi number right there just to make it look like it came from Mississippi. But from the beginning, alarms were going off on that one. So what did I do? I used that call as a platform so that the truth, once again, could get out there. So that when the FBI and the DOJ, if they do their job here, and I can't imagine why they wouldn't. I mean, that's just straight criminal to allow somebody to invoke the name of your agency and then stand down and not investigate it. That would say that you were 100% culpable in everything that's going on. So I don't know. I'm demanding an investigation. I'm demanding prosecution. I'm demanding a report on the findings. Because I want to nip this in the bud where it needs to be. Yeah, I'm in the midst of traveling. All right, so let me provide for you an update on all of that. Okay, so I put that out, published the call, and then pull up a chair. And then on July 25th, I sent Assistant U.S. Attorney Aaron Chalk a email saying, Aaron, please be advised that someone called me yesterday pretending to be an FBI agent. I recorded it, identified the signs, and then disseminated it. I believe there's a good chance that the person on the other end was trying to get a sample of my voice in order to voice clone it. And it's what makes sense to me. Whatever the purpose, it was nefarious, and I would hope that you would see to it that it is investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And I put the YouTube link. I said, it's clear to me, but please confirm in writing that it was not an agent. So I sent that. And then later on that day, when I didn't get a response, I sent one from my other email, my Proton Mail email. So that one's not going to spam. All right? That one's encrypted email address. And no response. I asked her if she got the email that I had sent earlier from the M. Reardon WTPnews.org email address. No response. It's still no response through today. You know, the simplest of things. Just a simple acknowledgement, yes, I received it, would suffice. But as I don't think I have the... No, I didn't CC myself on the follow-up email, and I don't have the Proton app on my backup phone. If I didn't hear from her by the end of the day, on Friday, I was going to make sure that I got in touch with her. So I'm making sure that I got in touch with her. Okay, I'm making sure I'm once again publishing the call, publishing the FBI impersonator call, and once again now I'm really calling out. Where are you when things this blatantly obvious are going on, but then every day people are arrested and charged with stupid ass shit that's not actually really happening? There needs to be some kind of change. This is the kind of change that it's going to take Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice to go in. I mean, I would hope that the Attorney General of the United States wouldn't have any direct knowledge of this kind of stupidity going on. But with that said, I'm going to... Let me check the comments real quickly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a clear example of rules for thee, but not for me. Right, Daisy May? Let's see. Yeah, so deplorable garbage. I mean, look, I'm one guy that's having to balance, I feel like, the weight of the world on all of this. I'm having to do my own website work. I'm having to do my own driving, you know, steadily traveling right now. I'm going to say just definitely pay attention over the next week or two. Actually got a big event coming up on August the 5th, well, the 4th and the 5th. I am going up north to go see some of my friends up that way. Be doing a lot of live streaming, doing a conference. Let's see. What's up, Gloria? Yeah, so with that said, we video photo library. Oh, not that one. Not that one. All right. I don't answer questions.
I'm sorry?
I don't answer questions.
Fair enough. Just stay away from us.
I'm at a safe distance. I know what I'm doing. I don't need direction from you. Did she call you out here? I forgot I have a weapon of mass destruction with it being a cell phone.
I'm sorry?
I said, did she call you out here?
Why?
I said,
I don't
did
answer
she?
questions either if you're not going to answer mine.
Is that right? I'm
Fair
such
enough.
a dangerous person with a camera, right?
Is it fair enough that if you're not going to answer my questions, I don't answer yours?
I mean, there's a little bit of a difference, though.
How's that?
Because you're paid for with taxpayer dollars. Okay, you're a public employee. You work for the public. You work for me. I don't work for you.
Okay.
And so me standing off to the side with a camera as a journalist
Oh, is that
in a
what you are?
constitutionally protected activity,
Do you have your press credentials?
press credentials are shit. They're not needed. The Supreme Court has even said they're not needed. Show me the statute where press credentials are needed to be press. Why are y'all towing this vehicle? I can freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Hey, you get his permission to search? And what are y'all towing his car for? What's your reason? There's got to be a crime committed for you to tow the car. Anything civil, you cannot tow the car. What's the reason you're towing his car? It's got to be a crime committed. I'm going to need the name and badge numbers. Make sure you don't pull off without names and badge numbers. Are they accusing you of a crime? Because that's the only way that they can haul it off. I'm trying to help you, man. Like I'm out here to protect your rights. So if they didn't get you with a crime, they have no involvement right here if they pulled you over. They're extorting the man's car. He's not under arrest. He hasn't committed a crime. Hey, what's your name, Tyrant? Can I get the report number? I need names and badge numbers. I want to find out more about this extortion racket you've got going on right here. What is it, Sutton? Hey, come here, boy. Hey, asshole, come here. I need to get that name, badge number, and the report number. Fowler? Hey, just know it was y'all that made yourselves look horrible. It wasn't me. I was just the guy that showed up with the camera. So they're just leaving you here on the side of the road? You got a ride? Hey, you got a ride? I was gonna say, if you don't, I'll gladly give you a ride. Hey, just remember, my friend, back the blue until it happens to you. It will happen. Don't trust them, they're not your friends. They are not your friends. About ran into me. You know you about fucked up. Hey, that right there for you. You too. Oh man, I'm gonna get a laugh out of that one for a while. That's for real. They asked for that one. I mean, I was minding my own business. I wasn't even gonna get um nearly as vocal, but that one was kind of I felt like that one was provoked. So yeah, it's uh Daisy May, I saw your thing about the making the crayon pass. I actually have the crayon pass. I actually got it laminated yesterday. So it's actually in my car. I wish I had it in my pocket right now. But I've got the press pass drawn by a 3-year-old. It says press across the top. And then I've also got the if you go to freepresspass.com, go to freepresspass.com. I built Leroy Truth that site right there. And he's doing it's a it's a free press pass. You put in your information, you can put in whatever name you want, and it will generate a press pass for you to use. So I have my Don Matthews press pass, and I've got my crayon uh, kids press pass. Of course, that's going to be the first one that ever comes out. In fact, I don't even know if I'll pull the Don Matthews one out. Press at the end of the day, a press pass is not needed. It's not needed. All right, I've got to get off of here. I got something I got to take care of, but I'll